The story begins showing a boy named Yun-Jul playing together with his deaf-mute older brother. Their parents are mute and deaf, so Yun-Jul is the only one who can hear and speak. Yun-Jul grows into a good boy thanks to his parents' great upbringing. He becomes the only person who can connect his family with the outside world. It's not easy to live in silence, but Yun-Jul's family always tries and never gives up to live the hardships of life. One day, after seeing an incident that almost harmed his deaf-mute brother, Yun-Jul asked his father if all the family members were in danger, who he would save first. In sign language, the father answered that he would save Yun-Jul because he could talk and ask for help from other people to help the family. This heartbreaking answer made Yun-Jul feel that his existence was very important, so he considered himself as the second breadwinner in the family. Yun-Jul is always careful in his actions because he doesn't want to drive his parents into trouble. Even when he was bullied by his friends, he looks for other ways to deal with it himself. Amidst all of his efforts to live independently, Yun-Jul finds his true color through music, after accidentally meeting an old man who owns Viva Music Store, and Yun-Jul called him Grandpa Viva. That old kind-hearted man helps Yun-Jul to learn guitar for free until Yun-Jul can master it. One day, Grandpa Viva challenged Yun-Jul to make a guitar riff from a mysterious, unfinished piece of music. If the results were satisfactory, Grandpa Viva promised to hand over one of his legendary guitars to Yun-Jul. Of course, Yun-Jul enthusiastically accepted the challenge. However, he didn't have time to show the results to Grandpa Viva, who eventually died of heart disease. Yun-Jul felt so lost, he cried in front of Viva Music Store when Grandpa Viva's daughter and granddaughter came. Yun-Jul's busy life with music almost jeopardized the safety of his older brother, who was trapped in a fire. Even though there were no fatalities, Yun-Jul felt guilty and he lost his enthusiasm for playing music. Years later, Yun-Jul is in the second year of high school. He continued his life as an ordinary teenage boy while trying to realize the hope of his parents. Yun-Jul is very smart and has a lot of achievements at school, while his older brother is very good at taekwondo and will join the national team. Yun-Jul and his family can now live a better life because of the fried chicken business they started, so everyone lives happily. Yun-Jul's father is very grateful to have been blessed with two great sons. Because of that, people no longer look down on him. As a dutiful son, Yun-Jul tries to fulfill his father's wish for him to succeed as a doctor. But on the other hand, Yun-Jul could not abandon his interest in music. He rents a public locker to store his guitar. He also often performs on the streets to entertain many people as an anonymous person who hides his identity. It didn't take long for Yun-Jul to become popular. He accepted an offer from one of the indie bands known as Spy 9. Appearing on stage wearing a mask became a special attraction among fans of this group band. When Spy 9 was starting to be known by many people and had the opportunity to make their name bigger, Yun-Jul had a dilemma when he was faced with a situation that required him to choose between his family and his band. He didn't want his busy life in music to endanger his family like before, so he chose to stop playing music. Amidst his anxiety, Yun-Jul went to the address of Viva Music Store, which has now been built into a big house. He came there to reminisce about the past while he was learning guitar with Grandpa Viva. At that time, he met a woman named Si-Jiang who turned out to be the daughter of Grandpa Viva. She went to America in the second grade of high school and returned to Korea with her daughter after hearing about the death of her father. Si-Jiang never thought that Yun-Jul was the little boy she had seen when she came to her father's music store. It turned out to be before Grandpa Viva died. He had written a will to hand over one of his guitars to Yun-Jul. And now Si-Jiang tried to fulfill his last wish by looking after the guitar as best as possible, until she could finally hand it over to Yun-Jul in this unexpected meeting. Yun-Jul cried after hearing Grandpa Viva's will, who finally acknowledged Yun-Jul's prowess in playing the guitar. The testament indirectly gave the answer to Yun-Jul that he could still make his parents proud through music. That Yun-Jul followed his heart to join the Spy 9 again, but another problem arose when one of the band members fell ill. Yun-Jul tried to help his friend by buying medicine, but this was misinterpreted by someone who didn't like Yun-Jul's family. In her mind, Yun-Jul hung out with punks and took illegal drugs, so she reported this to Yun-Jul's parents. Yun-Jul's father, who knew this news, was very disappointed, and he immediately met his son after a gig in a cafe. He demanded an explanation and asked why Yun-Jul didn't tell him earlier about Yun-Jul's feelings towards music. Yun-Jul explained that he was afraid of being confronted if he told his father all this. Then Yun-Jul's father insists that even though Yun-Jul will be opposed, he must persuade his father first as proof that he respects his father. Yun-Jul was annoyed and said that he couldn't persuade his father about music because his father couldn't hear. But then Yun-Jul regretted hurting his father's feelings with his words. When Yun-Jul went to calm his mind, an anomaly occurred that led him to a mysterious music store called La Vida Music. The place reminds him of the Viva music store he once visited as a kid. There, a frustrated Yul exchanges his guitar for some money with a very eccentric shopkeeper. Yul got a return coupon if he doesn't end up selling his guitar. When Yul came out of that music store, he saw an unusual view of Seoul. And finally, he realized that he had time travel to the past. Things got even more confusing when Yul accidentally met a younger version of his father, who apparently could hear and speak. Yul's father, known as Yi Chan, apparently was not born deaf. He is a passionate teenager who dreams of spending his youth in pleasure. The only problem he is facing now is love, especially after his heart was set on a very beautiful and popular teenager, Sejong. Yi Chan immediately fell in love with her at first sight when she visited the ice cream shop where Yi Chan worked part-time. News said that Sejong was very talented at playing cello. She was the belle of Siwon Arts High School and came from a prestigious family. It was said that getting her heart was more competitive than entering university because she was never interested in teenage boys who were obsessed with her. All this information was not enough to make Yi Chan realize that Sejong's love was too difficult to achieve because he never doubted his feelings. One day, Yi Chan, accompanied by his best friend Maju, went to a party where Sejong was performing her talent for playing cello. Yi Chan didn't give up even though he knew that Sejong already has a boyfriend, a medical student and member of a quite popular band. Yi Chan insisted that he would marry that beautiful girl no matter what happened. This made his best friend frustrated because it all seemed impossible for Yi Chan. Then Yi Chan finally had the opportunity to meet Sejong, but it was only to hear the fact that they live in different worlds. Yi Chan comes from a modest family and doesn't have anything. He lives with his grandmother who runs it in for students. Sejong's words made Yi Chan realize that he had to have something to win her heart. One of the senior students in the inn gave Yi Chan a casual suggestion. He suggested to Yi Chan that he should join the group band because girls like boys who are band members, and maybe it will make Sejong fall in love with him. One day, after buying a Kurt Cobain t-shirt, which was legendary at that time, Yi Chan wore that t-shirt then came to meet Sejong at her school. Coincidentally, Sejong also wore the same t-shirt, and it made them look like a couple. Out loud, Yi Chan invited Sejong to watch his first concert. The school is going to hold a festival in 1 month, and Yi Chan will perform there to win Sejong's heart. Then, Sejong accepts the invitation. If Yi Chan looks stunning at the festival, he has a chance to win Sejong's heart. But otherwise, Yi Chan has to give up and forget Sejong. After that, Yi Chan met the members of his school band, which was about to disband due to a lack of members. They agree to accept Yi Chan if he can bring a great guitarist into the team. For that, Yi Chan looks for Dong Jin, a great guitarist who is quite famous. After successfully persuading him to join the band, they agreed to meet. But the plan failed when Dong Jin suddenly left the meeting because he had to go to the toilet. That's when Jul appeared and picked up the newspaper that Dong Jin accidentally dropped because Jul bumped Dong Jin. Yi Chan came to pick up Dong Jin, who said that he will bring a newspaper. So Yi Chan thinks that Jul is the person he is looking for. After getting to know each other, Jul is very surprised to meet the younger version of his father, and he is forced to admit to being Dong Jin, so he can find out more about Yi Chan. However, the band members refuse to accept Jul because they know that Jul is not Dong Jin. Yi Chan disappointed because he had been lied to, but Jul was more disappointed because his father joined the group band to attract a girl, and she's not Jul's mother in the future. Meanwhile, Jul's mother, Chungna, was studying at Siwon Arts High School, and she was very good at painting. A few days ago, Chung accidentally spilled water paint marks on Sejong after her leg was tripped by a student who didn't like her. Sejong wasn't angry even though her clothes were dirty, and as a form of apology, Chungna lent her Kurt Cobain t-shirt to Sejong so she can change her clothes. That's why Sejong accidentally wore the same clothes as Yi Chan. Through this incident, Sejong and Chung ended up becoming good friends. On the other side, after being kicked out by Yi Chan, who felt cheated, Jul looked for a way home, and he was very frustrated because he didn't know how to go back to the future. Even worse, the money he got after selling his guitar couldn't be used at that time. When Jul was sleeping under the bridge with the homeless people, in his dream he received a call from the master, the owner of La Vida Music Store. He said that Jul had to find the reason why he was in the past if he wanted to go back to the future. Meanwhile, Chungna, with all her limitations, was always treated badly by people who didn't like her. One day, Chungna got into trouble with a bully who then dragged her and locked her up in a warehouse. At the same time, Yi Chan, who wanted to meet Sejong disguised as Siwon Arts High School student so that he could meet her at that school. When his plan failed and the teacher chased him, Yi Chan hid in the warehouse and met Chungna, who was trapped there. Yi Chan didn't realize that the girl was deaf and mute, but Yi Chan kept trying to talk to her. until finally the teacher came to the warehouse, so Yi-chan ran away with Chona. Yi-chan realizes that something has happened to Chona, and he wants to help her. Even though she couldn't hear, Chona could understand that Yi-chan wanted to help her when he gave his phone number. Meanwhile, Yeon-yul, who followed Yi-chan to Seoul Arts High School, accidentally met young Sejong. However, there was a serious and short conversation between them when Yeon-yul mentioned Grandpa Viva's name, which made Sejong uncomfortable and left him. Grandpa Viva was Si-gyeong's biological father, but since she was a kid, Sejong grew up with her adoptive parents for some reason. Sejong didn't like the fact that she was abandoned by her biological parents. She also didn't like her adoptive parents, who always demanded her to be the best cello player. However, she had no choice and could only fulfill their hopes to survive. Yeon-jul remembers his father's story about the inn run by his grandmother. Yeon-jul goes to his great-grandmother's inn and pretends to be a tutor who will teach Yi-chan after learning that Yi-chan's achievement at school was very bad. Because Yi-chan's grandmother really wanted her grandson to study well, she accepted Yeon-jul and prepared lodging and free food to pay for his services. That's how Yeon-jul was able to survive for a while, and he had more chances to recognize his father. Everyone at the inn welcomed Yeon-jul very well. The grandma prepared lots of food and Yi-chan sang happily. Yeon-jul remembering memories when he was a child before his great-grandmother died. He never thought that his father could laugh out loud in his youth. All of this led Yeon-jul to question what made his father deaf and why his father never told him about this. One day at work, someone left a letter containing a concert ticket for Yi-chan. The letter was written by Sejong, who invited him to go to the concert together. Yi-chan was excited to go to the meeting location, but he was late. The concert held by Se-gyeon's boyfriend and his band members had already ended. Sejong, who felt that she had not invited Yi-chan, was very angry because Yi-chan looks like a stalker who keeps following her. Sejong scolds Yi-chan and makes him feel humiliated in front of many people. When Sejong looks down on Yi-chan and his ambition to make a great band, Yeon-jul suddenly appears, then introduces himself loudly as the future guitarist in Yi-chan's band. He also accepts Se-gyeon's boyfriend's offer to play music together. Yi-chan confidently sang on stage, while Yi-chan showed off his amazing guitar playing. That night, Yeon-jul didn't believe he could play music with his father. It is something that was impossible in his previous life, and he was very happy. After this incident, Yi-chan told Yeon-jul about his real motive in creating a band. It wasn't just to attract Se-gyeon's heart, but for the sake of his youth, which would end soon. After graduating from high school, Yi-chan wouldn't go to college and look for a job to make money. He wanted to rebuild his grandmother's restaurant, which went bankrupt because of his irresponsible father. It means that he won't have time to relax in the future, and this is the last chance to let his youth shine. After saving Yi-chan, who was almost hit by a car, Yeon-jul suspects that his father cannot hear due to an accident, and Yeon-jul thinks that he can prevent it and change the future. However, Yeon-jul doesn't know when that will happen. So to prevent it, he has to be by his father's side all the time. Because of that, he agrees to help Yi-chan in creating a band. One time, Yeon-jul heard a story from his great-grandmother about Yi-chan not being interested in studying. Yi-chan thought that his grandmother was working hard making money, so he had to work part-time to help his grandmother. However, Yi-chan's grandmother hopes that her grandson will study well and be able to go to college for his future. Hearing this, Yeon-jul is determined to change his father's view so that he wants to go to college, and he continues to persuade him to study. After seeing Yeon-jul's ability in playing guitar, the three members of the school band agreed to accept Yeon-jul in their group. However, they didn't want to accept Yi-chan as a vocalist before he proved his worth. Yeon-jul used this opportunity to teach his father to play the guitar and develop his vocals until finally he was able to prove himself to the other members, and they acknowledged Yi-chan's skills. The band consisted of 5 members, and Maju was their manager. The band was called the First Love Memories Manipulator. However, everything went wrong when Sejong and her family moved to the United States. Yeon-jul and Maju, who knew this news, decided to keep it a secret from Yi-chan so that he wouldn't feel let down. Yeon-jul knew that Sejong left Korea in 11th grade and didn't return until his father's funeral. But Yeon-jul was very surprised when he saw Sejong in Korea a few days later. It seems like she ran away from her adoptive parents. She also cut her long hair and sold her beautiful dress to get money. Se-gyeon's presence became a problem for Yeon-jul because she would get in the way of his parents' love journey. Yeon-jul then asked Sejong not to meet Yi-chan. Not only that, Yeon-jul said that Se-gyeon's words in the concert really hurt Yi-chan. Se-gyeon's personality seems to be changing. Now she wanted to apologize to Yi-chan for all her actions the other day. Yeon-jul then remembered the story that his parents met in sign language class. That meant if he could prevent Yi-chan from becoming deaf, then his parents would never meet. Apart from that, Yun-Yul is also having difficulty finding her mother's whereabouts at the moment, because in the future, Chung-ah is very secretive about her past. Even so, he still wants to help Yi-chan and find a way to bring his parents together and prevent Sejong from ruining their love story. Meanwhile, Yi-chan finally hears the news about Se-gyeon's departure, and it makes him very sad. At work, Yi-chan's boss told him that the girl who entrusted him with a concert ticket for Yi-chan just left the shop, and it turns out she is Chung-ah. Yi-chan is angry with her, and feels fooled by the concert ticket and the fake letter she gave him. Yi-chan thinks that Chung-ah deliberately wrote the fake letter to prank him because he really likes Sejong, and everyone at the school knows that. When Chung-ah left because she couldn't hear Yi-chan's complaints, Yi-chan thought she didn't care about him and even shouted saying she was deaf. Even though Chung-ah couldn't hear that, she understood Yi-chan's gestures and she left upset. She cried alone behind the telephone booth when it started to rain. Yi-chan felt very guilty when found out from his boss that Chung-ah was deaf. After that, Yi-chan went to look for Chung-ah again. At the same time, Yun-Yul accidentally saw Chung-ah crying alone and felt sorry for her. Yun-Yul handed his umbrella to her and didn't realize that she was his mother in the future. Chung-ah came from a rich family. However, she wasn't happy since her stepmother came into her life. That evil woman had 2 children who were very annoying and worthless. Chung-ah's father was very busy working, so he never knew how his daughter was treated badly by her stepmother. Chung-ah was like living in a prison. She was not allowed to learn sign language, so she had difficulty expressing her feelings. Chung-ah was always alone and felt lonely, until finally she saw Yi-chan and was entertained by all his silliness. When Yi-chan barges into the party to see Se-gyeon's appearance, as the host who held the party, Chung-ah could only see him from a distance. She was very entertained when she saw Yi-chan run away from her house and almost ruin the party, making her stepmother angry. Then she met Yi-chan again at the bookstore. At that time, Yi-chan swiftly protected her from the pile of fallen books, and that made her heart beat very fast. After the incident, Chung-ah went to meet Yi-chan at his part-time job. She continued to follow Yi-chan and bought the same clothes as him when she went to the market. Chung-ah didn't regret lending her clothes to Sejong, which makes her look like Yi-chan's girlfriend. However, she always wondered whether Yi-chan would meet her if she was the one wearing the t-shirt. That day, when Chung-ah was locked up in the warehouse and feeling frustrated, Yi-chan again appeared in front of her and helped her. Chung-ah felt happy and realized that she was in love with Yi-chan. But she finally found out that Yi-chan liked Sejong. When Chung-ah got the news that Sejong would move to the United States, she thought Yi-chan would be sad, and Chung-ah felt sorry for him. Then, when Sejong invited Chung-ah to go to the concert together, Chung-ah actually handed over the invitation to Yi-chan so that he would have one last chance to meet Sejong, the girl of his dreams. Chung-ah did that because she wanted to thank Yi-chan. But it seems that Yi-chan didn't understand and misunderstood Chung-ah's good intentions. After what happened, Yi-chan finally met Sejong, who asked him to talk, but he asked Sejong to wait because he had to look for Chung-ah and apologize to her. However, Yi-chan's efforts were unsuccessful. Afterwards, he talks to Sejong, who apologizes to him. While Yi-chan was flowery because of Se-gyeon's change in attitude, Yun-Yul felt worried and continued to question the reason the girl had returned to Korea, but Sejong never wanted to explain it, and that made Yun-Yul very upset. Things got even more chaotic when Sejong started being nice to Yi-chan. Yun-Yul was afraid that his father would fall in love with Sejong more and more, so he kept bothering Yi-chan when he approached the girl. Sejong, who realized this, thought that Yun-Yul liked her and was jealous seeing her close to Yi-chan. Yun-Yul didn't immediately deny that statement, and this became proof that he had a little feeling for her. Because after all, Sejong is too cute to ignore. Another problem arose when Yi-chan changed the title of the song for the festival, just because Sejong asked him to do so. He was too blinded by his love for Sejong Yun-Yul, who didn't like Yi-chan's attitude, chose to leave the band and left the inn. That night, Yun-Yul talked to the master in Dreamland, who explained that things in the future had started to change since Yun-Yul came to 1995. It means that his time travel could change the future, but he still didn't realize the reason why this happened to him. Yun-Yul is not the only person who travels through time. It seems that Sejong, who is rumored to have returned to Korea, is in fact another person who came from the future. She is Eun-Yu, Se-gyeon's only daughter from 2023. In the story, Sejong is used to obeying her adoptive mother's wishes to become the best cello player, and she enjoyed that career in the end. After moving to America, Sejong married a doctor and gave birth to Eun-Yu. However, Sejong regretted it because she had to stop playing cello and made her career fade. Sejong inherited her hopes for Eun-Yu, not realizing that it made her daughter feel imprisoned. Playing the cello doesn't make Eunyu happy, and she feels fed up with being used as a tool to make up for her mother's failures in the past, who has now become a drunkard. After divorcing her husband, Sejong and her daughter returned to Korea. With all the regrets, Sejong kept talking about her first love, who was in a group band. Eunyu finally thought that her presence was unwanted. She became very angry with her mother and went to America to live with her father. But when she got there, Eunyu found out that her father had remarried, which made her feel even more abandoned and wanted to die. Eunyu cried alone after ignoring her father's calls, who was worried. At that time, Eunyu thought that she should never have been born. After that, an anomaly occurs that leads her to the La Vida music store. Just as Eunyu exchanges her cello for some money before she is finally thrown to the past after leaving the store. Eunyu finds herself in South Korea. Because she has nowhere else to go, she stays at his mother's empty childhood house. When Eunyu mistakenly called her Sejong on the street while selling clothes, it crossed her mind to impersonate her mother and try to change her life. If she can bring Sejong together with her first love, she hopes that her mother will live happily and she will never be born as Segayeon's daughter. That way, Eunyu can make her depressed desire to die in a poetic way. It all makes sense why Sejong looks like someone else, because basically she's a different person. Meanwhile, some clues led Eunyu to the electric guitar release event, launched by Jinsung Instruments, Chung-a's father's company. The event was chaired directly by Chung-a's stepbrother, who likes to act as he pleases. Eunyu accidentally gets involved in the guitar audition that is part of the event, but due to technical problems, he becomes a victim of electric shock and has to be rushed to the hospital. At the same time, Yi-chan went to meet Chung-a at her school to apologize for the incident the other day. However, Chung-a had a fever, so she couldn't respond much before she finally fainted and Yi-chan took her to the hospital. Luckily, Chung-a's condition got better soon and Yi-chan continued to accompany her for the rest of the day. Yi-chan sincerely apologized to Chung-a, took her to eat and walked her home safely. Even though it was so short, Chung-a felt very happy and her heart kept beating fast. Eun-yu's mission to find her mother's first love began. She investigated every teenage boy who was close to Sejong and matched them with the characteristics her mother had told her about in the future. Eun-yu seemed to realize Eun-yu's good looks when talked to him one-on-one the other day. She thought that he was very dangerous because he had made her heart pound. Meanwhile, Eun-yu's departure made Yi-chan feel lost. He had spent a lot of time with Eun-yu and started to consider him a friend. The inner bond between them was so strong, and even though Yi-chan didn't realize that Eun-yu was his son, he felt sad and worried about Eun-yu's condition, who disappeared for days. As a form of solidarity, Yi-chan rejected suggestions from his friends to find a new guitarist, and he tried to find Eun-yu instead by spreading his photo in various places. In this process, Yi-chan met fraudsters who claimed to have found Eun-yu and contacted him just to blackmail him. At that time, Chung accidentally found Yi-chan battered under the bridge, and she asked Eun-yu for help, who happened to be looking for Yi-chan and passing through the surrounding streets. Meanwhile, Eun-yu woke up at the house of the Jinsung company owner. Chung-a's stepbrother locked him up at the house to avoid bad news, and everyone who was dealing with him was really scary. Outside of the house, Eun-yu meets Chung-a and realizes that she is his mother after seeing her name written on the school uniform. So Eun-yu finds out more about his mother's secret and is shocked when he sees her being treated badly by her evil siblings and stepmother. Eun-yu tries to help Chung-a and felt very sad when he found out that his mother didn't even know sign language to communicate. Eun-yu was very angry and asked the evil woman why Chung-a was being treated like this. And finally, the leader of Jinsung Company, Chung-a's father, arrived at the house. He immediately asked for an explanation. He felt guilty towards Eun-yu for the accident caused by his son. He gave Eun-yu a chance to negotiate. Later, Eun-yu asked why Chung-a's father didn't teach his daughter sign language. Apparently, he did that on purpose because he didn't want the public to know that his daughter was born with a disability. Then Eun-yu refused the compensation money offered by the chairman of the Jinsung Company, and instead he wanted to teach Chung-a sign language. Chan did not suffer serious injuries, and apparently his friends did not remain silent responding to the news of Eun-yu's disappearance. Even in the search for Eun-yu, one of them was willing to fight with gangsters. Eun-yu, who was still disguised as Sejong, visited Yi-chan in the hospital, and she told him what happened that night and how Chung-a played an important role in saving him. Eun-yu didn't know that her mother was friends with Chung-a, and she was very surprised when she heard the story that Chung-a was a deaf girl. On the other hand, the chairman of Jinsung Company was touched by Eun-yu's sincerity and said that he could return Chung-a's sweet smile if he taught her sign language. After getting permission on his first day of teaching, Eun-yu cried remembering his childhood when he learned sign language from Chung-a. And now, he is the one who taught his mother how to communicate using sign language. After knowing that Yun-Yul had no other place to go, Changna's father wants to accommodate him temporarily and send him to Siwon Arts High School. That's how Yun-Jul was able to watch over his mother closely and look after her with love. After dreaming that Sejong becomes his mother in the future, Yun-Jul becomes increasingly afraid that his father will not marry Changna. This fear makes him increasingly dislike Eun-Yu as the person who plays Sejong. After accidentally meeting Yun-Jul, Yun-Yu reports his whereabouts to Yi-chan and gives information that he attends Siwon Arts High School. Eun-Yu's mission to look for her mother's first love has not yielded results. Previously, she was very sure that Yi-chan was the person after doing some research, but she had not investigated Yun-Jul and could not confirm which of them was her mother's first love. Van-Yu wore her mother's school uniform and barged into Siwon Arts High School so she was able to approach Yun-Jul. When she met Yun-Jul, she asked why he hated her so much and always forbade her from approaching Yi-chan. Of course, Yun-Jul couldn't answer it, and finally Yi-chan came to Siwon Arts High School with his friends and made a commotion in order to invite Yun-Jul to join his band again. Yun-Jul is willing to do that, but on one condition, that Yi-chan is not allowed to meet Sejong again because Yun-Jul also likes her. Yi-chan, who doesn't accept it, hits Yun-Jul and finally they fight. Meanwhile, Changna watches them with worry. The commotion ends when the school teacher appears and everyone runs away. While hiding in the midst of chaos, Eun-Yu asks for an explanation from Yun-Jul regarding his confession of love that feels not sincere. Of course, it was because Yun-Jul didn't really love her, but Yun-Jul lied and kept saying that he really liked her. The teacher caught them both and took them to Changna's stepmother as the principal at Siwon Arts High School. Eun-Yu, with all her cleverness, managed to convince Changna's stepmother not to report to her grandmother aka Se-gyeong's mother who was in America and accepted her to go back to school. Eun-Yu does not accept Yun-Jul's confession of love and she asks for time until the spring festival to make a decision. Based on the clues, Yun-Jul's first love was supposed to perform a song to capture her heart on the day of the festival. And that's when Eun-Yu will know whether Yun-Jul is the one or not. Yun-Jul and Yi-chan agree to compete fairly on stage. The one who looks the most stunning has the chance to win Se-gyeong's heart. Yi-chan dares to accept this challenge because he has learned a lot to play guitar and sing. On the other hand, Yun-Jul is confused why did Chung-a look annoyed with him until he finally found out that Chung-a already liked Yi-chan, and she was angry with Yun-Jul for hitting Yi-chan during a fight on the field. Now, Yun-Jul's mission to make Chung-a's love was reciprocated by Yi-chan, and to do that, he invited Chung-a to hang out with his friends from the group band so Chung-a could get to know Yi-chan better. Besides, it turned out that Yun-Yu could understand basic sign language because she had learned it from her friend who is deaf in the future. That way, Yun-Yu could communicate with Chung-a, which made her feel very happy. On one occasion, Yun-Jul got a call from the master, who said that he had sent someone to help Yun-Jul. But before that, Yun-Jul had to help the person first. This message was still a puzzle for Yun-Jul, but at least he had a glimmer of hope. On one occasion, Yun-Jul took Eun-Yu for a ride in the countryside, until the motorbike they were riding ran out of gas. On a cold and lonely night, Yun-Jul gave Eun-Yu his jacket and asked her whether she could choose him over Yi-chan. It turned out that all this time, Yun-Jul had been interested in her and all efforts to approach her were sincere. At first, Yun-Jul thought that Sejong got Eun-Yu was from 1995 and he hesitated to love her because of the age difference. However, that view changed when Yun-Jul realized the fact that they were now the same age and there was no reason for him to hold back those feelings. At the most unexpected moment, Yun-Jul kissed Eun-Yu and made their heart beat fast. Yi-chan secretly learned sign language to express his gratitude to Chung-a for saving him the other day. When Yi-chan saw Chung-a's drawing book, he accidentally saw a painting of his own face. Chung-a was embarrassed and immediately snatched it, but it was too late. Yi-chan asked if that meant Chung-a liked him. Then Chung-a bravely admitted it, making Yi-chan shocked and fell from his seat. Chung-a knew that Yi-chan couldn't accept her feelings, and because of that, Chung-a had prepared an illustrated comic, asking if they could at least be friends. Yi-chan was moved when he realized the sincerity of Chung-a's love for him, and that makes his feelings for Sejong start to change. Chung-a is very happy when she gets a fax machine as a gift from her father. Yi-chan was the first to send her a message. The leader of the ginseng company, who saw Chung-a's happy smile, began to realize that his daughter was the gift he had ever received and regretted his actions so far. Meanwhile, Eun-Yu was still struggling with her depression. In the future, one of her friends, who was also a cello player and was depressed by her parents' demands, chose to give up and end her own life. Eun-Yu replaced her position as the best cello player. but it weighed heavily on her mind and traumatized her to the point where she couldn't play cello anymore. However, Sejong as a mother didn't understand her feelings. At that time, Yeon-yul stopped by to meet Yeon-yu when she felt very sad, and they ended up at the cinema. Yeon-yu cried, thinking about ending her own life. Yeon-yul tried to make her feel comfortable and gave her motivation by saying that Yeon-yu doesn't need to try too hard to look impressive. She just needs to continue with her life and is already very great. The First Love Memories Manipulator band needs a new name and visuals. Therefore, they recruited Yeon-yu and Chumna to take photos and make posters for their band. When Chumna accidentally met Yi-chan in a bookstore, she suggested using a painting of Frida Kahlo, a watermelon with writing Viva la Vida, which means long life for their band's visual. Yi-chan liked it, and they laughed while discussing it, creating a bond between the two of them. All the band members liked Chungna's idea, and Watermelon Sugar emerged as their new band name. While everyone was practicing seriously, Chungna and Yeon-yu tried their best to make attractive band posters and photos. Even though she looked indifferent, Yeon-yu actually already liked Yeon-yul, and she secretly kept paying attention to him. She even started to feel jealous when Yeon-yul became the center of attention of the girls at school. At school, Yeon-yul has to face Chungna's stepmother, who starts warning him, but he is not afraid. Chungna's stepmother really wants to control the Jinsung subsidiary company, which might fall into Chungna's hands when she grows up. Therefore, she continued to isolate Chungna, but her efforts failed when Yeon-yul came. Another problem arose when one of the members of Watermelon Sugar, Hyun-yul, was involved with gangster affairs, and it turned out that he had been part of the gang. The gang leader was imprisoned, and he had a grudge against Hyun-yul for some reason. And this got worse because reportedly he will be released temporarily. After remembering pieces of clues from the future, Yeon-yul finds out that one day before the school festival starts, when the band members are preparing the stage, an accident will occur which will make one of them seriously injured. Yeon-yul suspects that this is a tragedy that will harm his father and made his father deaf. When that day came, Yeon-yul tracked Yi-chan and took him to a faraway place. And sure enough, the stage lights prepared for the festival reportedly fell and almost injured the people who were there. Yi-chan survived the danger, and Yeon-yul used the rest of his time to accompany Eun-yu to the cinema. However, he received a call from his friends that the practice session on stage was still being held. Eun-yul realized that his mission was not finished yet because the date on that day had not changed, which indicated that Yi-chan was still tied to his destiny. At the same time, Yi-chan and his friends had to face the terrible night when the gangster leader, who was targeting Hyun-yul, arrived and attacked them. Eun-yul left Yeon-yu alone, and he arrived at school when Yi-chan almost got a fatal attack. Even though the gangsters finally ran away, Yi-chan did not suffer serious injuries because of Eun-yul's help. Eun-yul felt very relieved when the date changed. On the other hand, Hyun-yul finally opened up about his past, and he apologized to his friends because they had to experience this incident. Hyun-yul just wanted to forget his dark past life by playing music, but the gang leader considered it a betrayal and thought that Hyun-yul had reported him to the police, which put him in prison. This misunderstanding was unavoidable, and fortunately, the gang leader had already been to prison. The day of the festival arrived, but Watermelon Sugar arrived with all the preparations and was ready with t-shirts and stickers from each member. Yeon-yu was angry with Yeon-yul for leaving her alone at the cinema, and she continues to avoid him. However, Yeon-yul was forced to do that because he had to save Yi-chan, but he couldn't explain it. Eun-yu didn't like being left behind because it was part of her trauma. This incident reminded her of her mother's behavior and how her father left her to remarry. All of these things made her feel like she had been abandoned. Yeon-yul understands Eun-yu's feelings and he regrets his actions, but his mission to save Yi-chan cannot be ignored. Now Yeon-yu thinks that Yeon-yul only wanted her as a symbol of victory, and not because he loves her. She has made the decision to choose Yi-chan on this fateful day, and that means Yeon-yul's mission to match his parents will be even more difficult. But Watermelon Sugar performed with extraordinary success, and this was a very impressive performance. Everyone, except Yi-chan and Yeon-yul, was shocked when Eun-yu walked out in the middle of the performance. Eun-yu just found out that her father, who was a doctor, was once in a band. She just learned this news from Chungna's stepsister, who was friends with Sejong. It turns out that the first love that Sejong always talked about was the man who ultimately became Eun-yu's father. Sejong was already dating the man through an arranged marriage but didn't immediately love him. The festival event that Sejong refers to happened at a different time, and that wasn't Yi-chan's show. That day, Eun-yu's father did sing a song to attract Se-gyeong's heart, which finally melted as she loved him back. Maybe Eun-yu doesn't like her mother's character, but that doesn't mean she doesn't love her. The fact that she wants to find Se-gyeong's first love is proof that she cares and wants to make her mother live happily. But all that effort finally disappeared, and her desire not to be born just disappeared. Even so, all her feelings of sadness were still bothering her, especially her trauma, which couldn't just disappear just like that. This situation made her anxious. She was very angry, annoyed, sad, and confused about what to do. Meanwhile, instead of thinking about Eunyu, Yi-chan keeps wondering why Cheon-na didn't come to the festival. When Eunyu was angry with Eun-yul, she told Cheon-na that she would choose Yi-chan, and this made Cheon-na feel like she had no chance to fight for her love. That's why she didn't come to the show. Yi-chan was anxious and went straight to Cheon-na's house to ask why she didn't come to the show. Cheon-na tells Yi-chan that she is deaf and asks if Yi-chan invited her just to mock her. Yi-chan can't understand everything, so he takes out his sign language dictionary from his pocket and tells Cheon that music is not only for the ears but also for the mind, eye, and the heart. While holding back her tears, Cheon-na wrote something for Yi-chan before leaving him. The letter explained that Cheon-na would never see Yi-chan again because they lived in different worlds. After what happened, Yeon-jul went to meet Eunyu at her house. Eunyu was desperate and accused Eun-yul of only coming because Eunyu left the show and not choosing between him and Yi-chan. Eun-yul is offended because he didn't think about that at all and was only worried about Eunyu. Eunyu thinks that Eun-yul is from 1995, so she asks Eun-yul not to worry about her and feels like they live in different timelines, so they will never meet again. Eunyu wants to go home and she goes to the airport, but she doesn't know how to get back to the future. Eun-yul, who knows this, immediately picks her up when it starts to rain and says that he will help her find a way out even though he doesn't know what really happened. Eun-yul just doesn't want to let Eunyu get lost in sadness, and he wanted to offer his shoulder to lean on. After taking Eunyu home, Eun-yul accompanied her for a while. They cooked food together, joking with each other and talking heart to heart. Eunyu also started to open up about her trauma while playing cello. Eun-yul went home feeling happy because Eunyu had accepted his existence again. But all that didn't last long when the master gave the news that the time for his return was near. After what happened, Eunyu represented Sejong and met Yi-chan, who apparently had long realized that his love was one-sided. Long before the festival day, Yi-chan always paid attention to her, and after seeing her gaze at Eun-yul, he realized that the girl liked Eun-yul. Eunyu felt guilty, but Yi-chan didn't regret his feelings. He even thanked her for making his youth full of enthusiasm and impressive stories. Yi-chan didn't realize it, but his heart slowly turned to Cheon-na. There was a series of precious moments when Yi-chan accidentally saw Cheon-na, and his heart melted when he saw her feeding stray cats. Then Yi-chan followed her to a painting class and was captivated when she saw her tying her hair. After that, Cheon-na received bad treatment from a boy who tried to approach her. The teenager was not happy when Cheon-na ignored him and started making fun of her with his other friends. Yi-chan, who found out about this incident, beat them black and blue, and they all ended up at the police station. Luckily, Yi-chan's grandmother immediately came to defend her grandson. Cheon-na is very grateful, but she still avoids Yi-chan. That night, Cheon-na was surprised when she got a fax from Eun-yul, asking her to immediately meet Yi-chan at the band practice room. Cheon-na comes in worried, but it turns out it was just Yi-chan's plan to see her. Yi-chan prepares a notebook which he turns over one by one, asking how Cheon-na could make his heart flutter, but then leave him. Yi-chan revealed that he wanted to sing for her on the day of the festival, but since Cheon-na wasn't there, he had to do it now. Yi-chan had a special song for Cheon-na about facing adversity, and he translated every lyric with sign language. Cheon-na's tears flowed, and when Yi-chan forgot his last verse, Cheon-na approached him, then hugged him tightly, and started to cry even louder. Everyone went on holiday to a villa. On the train, Eunyu was shocked by the master's call, who contacted her by phone. The master explained that he had sent another time traveler to help her and reminded that the time of her return was near. At the same time, Eun-yul was also getting a mysterious signal on his phone. They both passed each other and realized each other's identity as time traveler. Eun-yul and Eunyu get off at one of the stations to avoid Yi-chan, who began to suspect them. They then introduce each other's real identities, explain each other's situation, and understand the reason they were thrown into the past. Eun-yul believed that his mission was to save Yi-chan and match his parents. After going through many things, Eunyu was not sure of her purpose and the reason she was thrown into the past, but she believes that they both have interrelated reasons. Yi-chan took the time to look for a cat for Cheon-na, worried that she would feel bored alone. Cheon-na was very happy, and after naming the cat, she prepared a nickname for Yi-chan in sign language. Cheon-na's nickname is Clear Voice, and she thinks Yi-chan has a shiny voice. She can't hear his voice, but she can see and feel it. Yi-chan is very touched, and he keeps staring at Cheon-na. A moment before Cheon-na left, he grabs her hand and kisses her. Everyone is enjoying their time together, and someone joins in the happiness. He is the old man who owns the music store who once lent his facilities to the Watermelon Sugar's members so they could practice before the festival. He happened to be there because the villa occupied by Yi Chan and his friends is managed by his friend. All the band members knew him as the once legendary guitarist. Yul was completely unaware that the man was Grandpa Viva, even though he had often met him and shared stories about his problems during this period. Of course, Grandpa Viva thought that Yu was Sejong, his biological daughter. But he was confused when he saw the girl's reaction, which clearly didn't recognize him. The love she received from Yi Chan and the attention from Yul and the other band members gave Chung the strength to rise from her slump at home. After a fun trip, Chumna was greeted with her stepmother's anger for skipping class and using sign language, which made her sick. I wasn't afraid because now she had friends. She tried to send a message to Yi Chan, but the message was intercepted and her fax machine was broken. She was locked up again in the attic, where she often spent her time alone and felt imprisoned. Yul, who had just arrived at home, immediately realized this mess and he threatened the housemaid to tell Chung's whereabouts. His heart hurt when he realized that his mother often gets this kind of treatment. At that time, Chungna's father was not home. Yul ignored all threats from Chungna's stepmother and took Chungna to Yi Chan's house. While Yi Chan's grandmother comforted Chungna, who was sobbing, Yi Chan felt angry and annoyed at Chungna's father, who seemed to be ignoring his daughter. He knew exactly how it felt to be abandoned by his own father. The pain was real and he couldn't bear to imagine how lonely Chungna had been all this time. Yul believes Chungna's father will do the right thing after learning the truth. During the trip to the villa, Yu felt that Grandpa Viva was constantly watching her, began to get suspicious, and asked the members of Watermelon Sugar. He then explained that Grandpa Viva was the member of a group band whose career was destroyed because of a scandal. He fell in love with a novice actress and had a child with her out of wedlock. After investigating more deeply through the news and magazines, the young actress, who was related to Grandpa Viva, turned out to be dead, not long after giving birth to her baby. Yu finally realized that the baby was Sejong, who was then adopted by her adoptive parents. Yu didn't tell Yul about her anxiety, especially after she heard the story about what happened to Chungna. Yu thought that Yul had enough trouble facing his own problems. One day it was revealed that in 2023, Yu knew Yul's brother, Yun-ho. In the story, Yun-ho once met Yu in a hospital. They became friends and Yun learned sign language from him. One day, Yu read a sad story written by Yun-ho, and it turned out that it was a true story about an accident that befell his father. Yun-ho accidentally found out about the story when his father met Maju after being apart for a long time. Yun-ho saw how Yi Chan avoided Maju, so he took the initiative to find out the relationship between the man and his father. That's when Yun-ho learned the story of Yi Chan's accident, which made him so down that he had to leave the music and stay away from his friends because he was embarrassed. Yun-ho wasn't ready to tell Yul for some reason. Yun was surprised because based on Yun-ho's story, the accident that happened to Yi Chan hadn't happened yet. That means Yul hadn't prevented anything. Yi Chan was said to have been hit by a drunk driver on a road. And with this information, Yun wanted to help Yul to save Yi Chan one more time. Meanwhile, Chungna's stepmother, with all her cunning thoughts, wanted to get rid of Yul, but her efforts failed. Chungna's father also finally found out what happened to his daughter while he was not at home. He was very angry when he saw the walls of the attic full of Chungna paintings and realized that his daughter often locked up there. He expelled Chungna's stepmother and fired all the housemaids for keeping secrets. It turned out that Yul had secretly sent a message to the Jinsun Company's leader about what happened to Chungna and the alleged corruption that his wife had planned. With all the evidence of the crimes, Chungna's stepmother is just waiting for the time to break down and rot in prison. That night, Yi Chan takes Chungna home and invites Chungna's father to talk in private. Yi Chan hands over the sign language dictionary he has been using to Chungna's father and says if he wants to communicate more with his daughter, then he just needs to try. Meanwhile, on the day the accident should have happened, Yul and Yu managed to save Yi Chan from being hit by a drunk driver. They were very excited and planned to meet, but on the way, Yu accidentally saw Sejong coming out of Grandpa Viva's music shop. Yu remembered a story from her mother in the future, who said that she once came to her father's music shop but didn't have the courage to talk to him. Yul told Yul all of her problems, including the fact about her biological grandfather, which made Yul shocked when he realized that the music shop owner was Grandpa Viva. That's when Yul finally found out that the boy she had seen while mourning her grandfather's death was Yul. On that night, Yul immediately met Grandpa Viva, whom he missed so much. But on the way, a car was driving towards him at high speed. Yi Chan, who happened to be there, sacrificed himself to save Yul. Before the accident, Yi Chan made a song in his room which made Yul very surprised. It seemed that it was a mysterious piece of music that Grandpa Viva had once shown to Yul, who at that time asked him to make a riff of a song from the music as a challenge. Grandpa Viva never told him, but Yul finally found out that the artist who created the music was his own father, and he helped Yi Chan complete the music earlier. In the original line, Yi Chan made the music alone, and the accident happened when he was about to send the music cassette to Grandpa Viva to be assessed. However, Grandpa Viva refused because he had other matters and Yi Chan had an accident on the way home. Even so, the cassette still fell into Grandpa Viva's hands, and that's how the sadness begins. Now, in a different storyline that has changed, Yi Chan dropped his music cassette during an accident and Grandpa Viva picked it up, proving that this circle of sadness still occurred. After meeting Grandpa Viva at the scene, Yu, who disguised as Sejong, asked why Grandpa Viva left her after her mother died and let her be adopted. Grandpa Viva cried, saying he never wanted to leave her and only found out about her existence when she was adopted. He thought that Sejong was living happily with her rich family. Yu said that all this time she was depressed living with her adoptive parents. She hoped that her grandfather would understand that even though Sejong looked happy, she was actually very devastated. Finally, Yu said to her grandfather that if he met someone who was similar to her one day, he needed to say that he never intended to leave her. Through this message, Yu hopes that her mother's life can be better and that she doesn't feel abandoned. Yul was filled with immense guilt. He almost chooses not to return to 2023 and disappears from the timeline. It turns out that the driver who hit Yi Chan was Chung Ah's older stepbrother, who was annoyed with Yul because he had destroyed his mother's plans to control Chung Ah's father's property. He was arrested, but that didn't stop the fact that Yi Chan lost his hearing after a very serious head injury. When Yi Chan woke up after surgery and realized that he couldn't hear, all the people closest to him were sad. Yi Chan's tears were unbearable when his grandma came to the hospital. Yul, who couldn't bear to see the sadness, left the room. Another part of his guilt was that he truly believed that Yi Chan's life had become a mess because of him and felt that things had not changed. Yu emphasized that Yul's efforts were not in vain. Yul has saved her from adversity, and Chung Ah can finally get love from her father. Then Yu revealed the reason Ho never told Yul about Yi Chan's accident. It was because the whole family had put too much of a burden on him, and Ho didn't want Yul to be getting more and more stressed. Yu said that it was not a burden that Yul had to carry. So far, Yul has always considered himself the second breadwinner in the family, but now he realizes his limits and not everything is in his control. Yu convinces Yul to return to 2023 according to the master's direction, who says that a double moon will appear the following night, and that will be a sign of their return home. At home, Yu meets her mother, who turns out to have secretly run away from America. Sejong is shocked to think that she is hallucinating. Yu gives her some sincere advice to live her life according to her wishes. The news of the accident reached the ears of the Jinsung Company's leader, who then felt responsible and was determined to provide justice for him. He even promised to cover Yi Chan's hospital and school costs until he graduated from college, but he was forced to keep this a secret from Chung Ah, who will continue her studies in America. With the dictionary given by Yi Chan, Chung Ah's father learned a little sign language, and finally he could see his daughter smiling at him. On the other hand, Yul met Grandpa Viva, who finally handed Yi Chan's cassette to him and asked him to listen to the song. Before saying goodbye, Yul sincerely thanked Grandpa Viva and gave some advice regarding his health. In his music recording, Yi Chan conveyed a message to Yul that he was very grateful to have met him, who was always by his side, helped him face problems, and made his youth shine brightly. It was not easy to leave Yi Chan, who was at the lowest point in his life, but Yul has no choice. Yul and Yu pass through separate portals in the same way when they enter the La Vida music store. They return coupons for their musical instruments and return home in 2023. Turns out the master of the Ward of Time is Grandpa Viva. Everything made sense why Yul and Yu were thrown into the past. They were both bound in a circle of sadness that Grandpa Viva accidentally created when he left his biological daughter, Sejong, and refused to accept Yi Chan's recording until finally he had an accident. The time travel was a gift from the universe for Grandpa Viva so that he could pay for his mistakes and give those who are bound the opportunity to learn to understand life. Yul can get to know his parents more deeply, and Yu can learn to appreciate her life and understand her parents' feelings. Back in 2023, Yul wakes up in the magnificent house of the Jinsung family. His father and mother are reunited, and their relationship with their past friends is still well maintained. Now, Chulna is the daughter of a conglomerate because she maintains a good relationship with her father, and she was given the responsibility as principal of C1 Arts High School. Yishan, holding a subsidiary company from Jinsung Group, Instead of feeling embarrassed about his life story as he used to, he appeared on stage to launch their newest product with full confidence. Yul is still part of the Spy 9 band, but this time with the blessing of his parents. This band is already well known and liked by girls and is about to go on tour under the direction of Maju as the manager. Yul and his band perform at the Jinsun guitar release event. And the most touching part is that Yi-chan finally realizes that Yul he has known in the past is his own son. The story ends when Eunyu comes to see Yul's show, and finally they meet off stage to greet each other, longing and sharing memorable moments. Life doesn't have to be perfect to shine. You don't have to wait till you're old to try and not have to try too much. Happiness can come from small things. Everyone has a different story and sadness, and we should not compare our lives with anyone. If you can't fulfill your parents' hopes, then prove that your choice is right and you will never regret it.